The history of anime in America is utterly littered with startup distribution companies and licensors that were more than likely operating out of some poor mother's basement. Among the titans, both standing and fallen, of the American anime market, your Bondis, your Vizes, your Funimations, your CPMs, were smaller businesses that tried to stake their claim over the last 25 years. Star Anime Enterprises, Anime Who, Some More Entertainment, Anime Midstream, these were all companies that, by hook or by crook, took their best stab at becoming one of the bedrocks of the industry, but sadly failed. This month, we're going to be looking at 3 anime titles that were released by one such company. A small and oft-forgotten boutique company that catered to fans of the ultraviolence. Urban Vision. We briefly touched upon them back in my Wicked City review, but I think it's high time we had an honest-to-God talk about one of the most unique major anime licensing companies that ever brought a title to our shores, at least for my money. UV was founded in 1996 by Ichiro Yamamoto, a Japanese film producer that worked on titles like The Killing of America, a 1981 documentary about America's fascination with guns and serial killers. From that little tidbit, it's not hard to extrapolate the kinds of anime and films he liked to produce. Goku, Midnight Eye, Dragon Slayer, Vampire Hunter D, Psycho Diver, Urban Vision seemingly only released the kinds of anime that garnered its ultraviolet reputation that dogs the medium to this day. What kills me especially about this is that they released their DVDs with a gimmicky tachometer redlining, saying that this is only for mature audiences. Well, of course it is! This is an Urban Vision anime! What's even the point of the rest of it? In its entire existence, Urban Vision released about 20 different anime, about which 5 of them were fairly restrained. The rest? Among these visceral titles was Golgo 13 The Professional, which we covered previously here on Anime Abandon, in which a good number of you chastised me for not showing the CGI helicopter sequence. So, to rectify this, Gabe... Ha 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 ha, look how dated it is. It looks like the Money for Nothing video. Ha 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 ha. And there we are. Have we finally buried the hatchet on that? Good, moving on. Now, Golgo holds a special place in UV's heart, seeing as how Yamamoto was an executive producer on it back in 1983. That the film wound up being released stateside by his own company can be seen as a homecoming of sorts. At least it would be if the movie wasn't just one gigantic, long, lame power trip. Golgo kills people, sleeps with tons of women, and his personality doesn't reach further than that. He is everything Ian Fleming thought he was or wanted to be. He's basically an empty vessel for the admittedly and predominantly male audience to pour themselves into. In that way, he's anime Mad Max. I mean, think about it. What are the most badass and most awesome parts of any Mad Max film? I guarantee you they all have little, if anything, to do with Max Rockatansky. The Lord Humongous, Immortan Joe, Furiosa, Master Blaster, Mini Ted Nugent with the bladed boomerang, they all had a more active and proactive role in their respective movies. Max's role, on the other hand, as main character, is just to fall into these characters' stories and observe as an outsider whose circumstances led him here. Same thing with Golgo, as the stories of the side characters take precedence before the personal story of Golgo. But unlike Max, Golgo doesn't really get a story to himself. We know that Max had a family that was brutally killed by gang members, and ever since then, he's been surviving and wandering because, well, that's all he knows how to do, or all he's emotionally capable of doing. Golgo, meanwhile, has no story to speak of. After nearly 50 years of manga chapters, we're no closer to finding out any concrete details about his past than we were back in 1968, and that's by design. And while that might be purposeful, that doesn't necessarily equate to being compelling. Especially if you're going to be spending a chunk of your movie having your characters expound about how they'd be better off being like Golgo, an emotionless tool. That Golgo 13 story centered on the people around Golgo is just by necessity, since a story following this void of charisma would be the most boring story this side of Odin. It'd be like if we didn't know why or how Frank Castle became the Punisher. But while the movie was a weird combination of pretentious and violent, its sequel OVA, Queen Bee, is just silly and violent, which is way more palatable. Sure, Golgo is frustratingly empty and reactive, as is his nature, but at least the story being told is fun and more focused, owing that to its shortened and tightly wound running time. If Golgo must be an anime, better he be in a 30-minute television episode or a 60-minute OVA than an hour-and-a-half long film. This is Golgo 13, Queen Bee. We begin with a bunch of marks gathering for their presidential hopeful, Robert Hardy. Sometimes it feels like the universe aligns itself just for you.
Robert, you're drinking too much. Go easy.
Uh-huh.
We've come this far. Just keep it together down the stretch.
I'm okay, Thomas. Don't worry. I won't blow it.
I won't break under pressure. What has gotten Broken Rob Hardy taking to the booze? Well, it might have something to do with the death threats he's been getting, courtesy of this fiery, sultry soldier of fortune for a South American Liberation Army. And of course, such threats cannot be taken lightly. And that's when Rob's vice president, Brother Nero, contacts Golgo with the job of taking her out. Now, the film's opening had a very James Bond-esque feel to it, but that was 1983. What does the 1998 OVA have in store for us?
Hey lady, I wonder where it is you hide. Now lady, must you be on the run tonight?
Apparently, they decided to go with Sade being sung by Sad Panda. Alright, I'm not gonna front. The song is actually enjoyably cheesy, and paired with the kind of mood it's trying to go for, I can see it earnestly working, but damn if I can't take the song seriously at all. This is exactly the kind of song that Strong Bad was talking about in his bit about sweaty, overweight jams.
My name is Daenerys, love with a sweaty, overweight jam.
Anyway, even though Golgo is less man than God, it seems his target is not some wilting flower he can lay and be done with.
Although he totally will do that.
As not only does she command the hearts and minds of her men to the point that they'll proudly sacrifice themselves by kamikazing into a bunch of cop cars if it means she can make a clean getaway, but she also has machine guns that shoot bullets so hard it sets their target on fire. I don't know, does Lita here get into enough conflicts that she has to have tracer rounds armed in her MGs at all times? Let alone the fact that she has MGs on her at all times? So how in the world does she inspire such utter devotion from not only her men, but also powerful drug and arms dealers for her righteous cause?
How the hell do you think she does it?
A body so soft and warm, forget about it, and yet cold and hard as a knife. No matter what you do, no matter how long you take to do it, she never surrenders completely.
Scrub.
She's part mermaid, part piranha, that girl.
You mean just a mermaid then? Unless it was the other way around, but then again, why would you want to stick it in that? Oh my god, what is this? Little League? Make no mistake, though she is able to twist the wills of men to basically do her bidding, she's not afraid to get her hands, or her tits, dirty. Only Urban Vision! And Central Park Media, and ADV, and Manga Entertainment. Come to think of it, why haven't we seen this shot before? Meanwhile, Broken Rob Hardy is whipping up his constituents in a frenzy with his typical fiery oration.
3 words that will restore America and the American dream to our children. No more drugs. For too long we've let our kids be contaminated, their minds wasted.
It's no secret why these guys want to assassinate Hardy. If the No More Drugs Dream Team wins the election, well, it stands to reason that won't be very good for business.
It's too simple.
Holy crap, Golgo said something! And believe it or not, that's John DiMaggio saying it. That's right, Jake the Dog, the Scotsman, Dr. Draken, Aquaman, Red Hood, Joker, Bender, Bending Rodriguez himself, John DiMaggio, is playing Golgo 13. All 14 lines of his. And yes, I counted. This is the voice acting equivalent of getting Gary Oldman to play Silent Bob. While Golgo is busy getting all the intel he can on Lita, guess who drops by?
Bartender.
Yeah?
A Courvoisier for my friend here.
Appreciate it, but I think I'll be on my way out.
Well, how about a screaming orgasm then?
Lita, if you could get so much as a cough out of Golgo, let alone a screaming orgasm, we'll burn your name into the freaking moon. Once again, amateurs. Suave, you do realize you just insinuated that you... I know what I said.
They tell me that you're the type of fellow who always finishes any job he takes on.
Okay, there's low-hanging fruit, and then there's just out-and-out gimmies. Lita tries to hire Golgo to assassinate Broken Rob Hardy, but soon finds out that she's his target already. However, she manages to bluff her way out of the building. Which brings us back to Broken Rob Hardy. Say, You don't suppose a politician whose entire platform seems to be a drug-free America would be a hypocrite about it, would you?
You write my speeches for me. You tell me what to say, when to say it.
Let's keep that to a minimum, shall we?
Why is anyone surprised that Broken Rob here is chasing the dragon? He is a Hardy. Yeah, I drank like that after I came back from seeing the last Alien movie. In any case, Vice President Nero takes it upon himself to enlist a little more help in killing Lita, seeing as how he knows that Lita knows that Golgo is after her. So he contacts some random general to send out our soon-to-be psychotic bad guy for Golgo to off. And when I say psychotic, I don't exaggerate.
I'd walk through the gates of hell if my superiors ordered me to.
Oh, I know. I remember ordering you to destroy that village, but your orders did not include cutting open a woman who was 6 months pregnant.
Dragging a body back to camp and frying up strips of her flesh in a frying pan. Or returning to base with a chopper full of human heads. I don't remember ordering anything like that.
Okay! Ha! I don't think psychotic is the word here, because killing a pregnant woman and then rendering out her fat to make human bacon is not something you do spur of the moment. You gotta plan that shit out. Maybe liquidate her fat to make some human gravy and biscuits. And of course, you gotta grind up the cartilage and other parts of the body to make human sausage. I mean, that intestinal casing is only going to waste if you don't. And, well, you gotta have grits if you're going to make a country breakfast out of a fellow human being. Damn it, now I want breakfast. Gabe, bacon and grits me, my man.
You'd be expecting that.
Golgo's man on the inside scrapes up some more information about Lita, including the fact that she might very well be the bastard daughter of Broken Rob Hardy, and that she's really being taken out to take care of a dangling thread. Which is a storyline I'm shocked to find out was not on Monday Night Raw. Now, between all of these scenes of setup and intrigue, there are many a go-nowhere scene involving Golgo or Lita shooting each other, or in Lita's case, musing about the duality of her life, as she's surrounded by violence but also loves to make love. It's actually kind of a breath of fresh air to see a female character want to have sex not just as a tool to get what she wants, but also because she thinks the act itself is a worthy one, even if the scenes depicting the act are all kinds of silly and over-edited to the point of early 90s Scorsese, or that the dialogue therein is rife for the smart alecky response.
If I should die tomorrow, you'll have the memory of this night we shared. And if tomorrow you die, I'll always carry part of you deep inside me.
Mostly in the tonsils. Or if I'm feeling frisky, the large intestine. Unfortunately, all of these character moments are tainted when Lita reminisces about the night her mother was killed at the behest of Nero, and then later turns around and rapes her. And to punctuate all of this, he even says to her, "I'm not a nice man." You see how me just talking about this scene completely derails the fun we've been having? Yeah, imagine watching that. Granted, the anime is tasteful enough, if tasteful is a word that can even be used here, to not show anything explicit, but that still doesn't make the scene any more necessary, let alone compelling. What, having her mom killed by Nero doesn't give her quite the amount of character motivation to exact revenge? Fuck you. There's no real way to dump in or out of this, so please excuse me if it seems like I'm doing a heavy-handed drive-by on all of you. But at least it's over. We immediately cut to the jungle where Lita's militia is waiting for her with open arms. But she isn't alone, as both Golgo and Psycho are on her heels. Well, Psycho would be if Golgo hadn't crept up to clap his soldiers. Thing is, Golgo doesn't know who Psycho or his men are. He just kills them because he's farming? Yeah, so Golgo has officially pissed in Psycho's coffee and calls it Taster's Choice. So not only does he have Lita to contend with, but also Beggin' Strips here. And speaking of... Wonderful as always, Gabe. And do I detect a distinct lack of laundry detergent?
Aw, I could never fool you.
She sure lived up to her nickname, the Queen Bee. They say every one of those kids is hers.
Jesus! What did this woman do? Drink power thirst?
You have so many babies! 400 babies!
Golgo manages to line his sights, but unfortunately, Psycho has some Apache helicopters, and he's not afraid to use them. Or afraid to break the Geneva Convention.
Have you ever seen such cruelty? Ooh! Ooh! Ow!
Fatality.
Lita manages to escape, but not all of her children made it out alive, in what would have been a stirring scene if it weren't for Lita doing her best Colin Hay impression. Speaking of screwy eyes, Psycho finally goes toe-to-toe with Golgo, and after a series of unfollowable and cramped shots, Golgo emerges victorious, having stabbed Psycho in the eye so hard it propels him up through 12 feet of water. Physics is just a theory. Lita finds Golgo passed out from his wounds and decides now is the most perfect time for the most epic sex scene in the history of anime abandon.
Together, you and I will create a new life. Let the seed be planted in the ashes of war. That's it. We are one.
This is just perfect. The manic, tearful desire in Lita's eyes, the fact that she tears off her shirt like Hulkamania is about to run wild, the starry night sky being used to imply that Lita's orgasming through time itself. We should all be so lucky to have mind-bending sex like this.
And if you want to be that lucky, ladies, call my toll-free number here at 1-800-SWAB4ME. Operators are standing by to let you all know when I'll get back to you.
In a startlingly good scene, Broken Rob Hardy truly becomes broken when he first sees Lita, long having believed she was dead. Shaken to his very core, he reveals after all this time, he still holds a place for her and her mother in his heart.
Is that really me? Was I ever that happy? Oh, my darling. My little girl. Oh, dear God. Forgive me for what I've done.
That performance belongs in a better anime. A legit good anime. I mean, Queen Bee so far has been goofy fun and everything, but that's something else entirely. And this revelation leads to Hardy finally snapping and committing suicide in front of not only his constituents, but also Lita in a sniper's nest. Of course, Golgo isn't one to give up his target, even if his paymaster is 6 feet under, and finally completes his job, cornering Lita at her father's grave. With her dying words, Lita gives Golgo one last job to take out Vice President Nero and his men, and he does as the credits roll. Oh, and there's also the issue of Golgo killing Lita while she was with his child.
Now we'll never know what our child would have been like. Too bad.
That's okay, Golgo. Give it enough time and people will forget that you just committed infanticide. Except for smarks on the internet. So that was Golgo 13 Queen Bee. And can you understand now why I consider it superior to the film? It's just as dumb and overly stylized as the movie, but it has a better sense of what it is, and embraces it with a fervor that's just hard to hate. Even when it ventures into truly hateful territory, the zeal by which it unfolds is just plain silly and fun. And if I hadn't made it clear by now, Queen Bee is the heart and soul of this story, and she is 10 times more interesting and more involving than the titular Golgo. The anime did right by focusing on her and her relations with the people around her, which makes her inevitable death hit all the harder. In the end, this is not a Golgo 13 story. This is a Queen Bee story, and damn if it isn't stupid fun. But the good times around here never seem to last for long, as next week we're going to be looking at another Urban Vision title, Twilight of the Dark Master. Till next time.